32 points, 7 threes, and Caitlin Clark was officially back.
Cunningham looking, versus Tynes Allen, handoff Clark for the tie, yes!
But this one didn't come easy, because she watched the lead vanish into a hole and still had to claw this whole thing back to overtime almost entirely on her own.
Clark will drive at Amor, goes behind the back, gets inside, triple teamed in there, and draws the foul.
And from the opening tip, she made it clear exactly whose night this was going to be. She came out commanding the offense immediately, threading a between-the-legs dribble into a perfect feed to her teammate for an easy bucket because she was setting the tone from the opening minutes.
You gotta be able to know where she's at.
Boston, deep position, and she won't miss from there.
She pushed the pace in transition and launched a long pass looking to extend the lead, but a defender got a hand on it and tipped it away before it could connect. She used a pick and roll to draw the defense toward her and then kicked the ball to her teammate, who knocked down a three-pointer. And just like that, her vision was tearing Washington's defense apart.
Back to Indiana means for him. Boston drills a three.
She ripped the ball right out of the opponent's hands and pushed it up the floor in transition, found her teammate wide open in the corner, and the three-pointer splashed through to put Washington in an early hole.
Cross-court pass sets up Cunningham, who buries a triple.
2 beautiful assists, 2 made threes, and a defense that had absolutely no answer for the way she was dissecting them in the first quarter. She grabbed the ball and took it coast to coast all by herself, attacking the rim against the defense. But the shot didn't fall as the defender contested at the basket.
So their first 8 shots. Here comes Clark behind the back to the rim.
Her first perimeter look missed, but her team grabbed the offensive rebound and gave her another chance, and she stepped back behind the arc on the right wing and drilled a 3 right over Wilson because you do not get 2 chances to stop Caitlin Clark.
Clark backing up and dropping a 3.
She came off the screen, caught the pass on the left wing, and fired a three-pointer that ripped through the net, and she put her hand to her ear like she was daring Washington to say something about it.
Clark. Oh, yeah!
3 made threes already, each one more confident than the last, and Washington was staring at a 13-point deficit, wondering how to slow her down. She attacked off the dribble and baited Prosper into a foul with the kind of veteran craftiness that makes defenders look foolish. And she headed to the free throw line with Indiana firmly in control. She went to work in isolation and pulled up from the center of the perimeter, but Prosper got a hand on it and blocked the attempt, and that was one of the few times anyone could slow her down all night. She drove toward the baseline and drew contact from McMahon, who caught her with a foul, and she went to the floor but got right back up because nothing was keeping her down in this first quarter. At the end of the first quarter, it was Indiana up 28-21, and she had already shown Washington everything in her bag with multiple threes and a dominant opening 12 minutes. She came off a screen at the top of the key and fired a 3 in the second quarter, but the shot missed, and for the first time all night, you could feel the momentum starting to shift as Washington crept back into this game. She drove into the paint and collapsed the defense, then kicked the ball out to her teammate in the left corner for a made three-pointer, because even when her own shot wasn't falling, she was still making everyone around her better.
Turnover here in the second quarter. Clark drives into Betts, gets inside, kick out for a Billings 3, and that goes down.
She was competing on the defensive end and staying in front of Prosper, but the referee blew the whistle and hit her with a foul that left her visibly frustrated because the calls were not going her way.
She's been working on 10 of those 14 came.
She came right back and used a drive fake to bait Prosper into another foul, proving she could beat this defense with her mind just as easily as she could with her handles.
And hounded by Prosper, and there comes the foul call.
She used a screen and drove left before pulling up for a jumper from the left perimeter, but the shot missed, and Washington kept building momentum while the Fever's lead continued to disappear.
Clark too strong on a two-point shot there.
She drove to the center and pulled up again, but the jumper wouldn't fall, and you could see her carrying the offensive burden almost entirely by herself as the team around her went cold. She picked up another foul on McMahon's drive, and now she had 2 personals in a game that was slipping away, and you could see the frustration building because the supporting cast was giving her nothing. Even with foul trouble, she refused to take a play off on defense, slapping the ball right out of the air when Washington tried to score in the paint because her effort level never once dropped.
Points after regulation. Clark able to swat that one away. The shot clock down to 1.6.
She found her teammate in isolation and delivered the pass to the left wing, and the jumper went in, but you could tell she was doing everything she could to keep this team afloat while Washington kept punching back.
Mitchell off the screen, finds some space and knocks it down.
She tried a backdoor pass that didn't connect, but then she hustled to grab her own offensive rebound off a missed shot because Caitlin Clark does not quit on a single possession. She caught a bounce pass in the right corner and launched a three, but it caught the rim and bounced away as Washington continued to claw their way back into a game the Fever were letting slip through their fingers. The third quarter was a nightmare as her jump shot in the paint missed, her three from the right wing spun out, and her long pass went out of bounds, and the scoreboard now showed Washington leading by 8 because the Fever had completely collapsed around her. She attacked the basket and drove straight into traffic, drawing a foul, and then Washington picked up a technical on top of it because they couldn't handle her aggression without losing their composure.
Moore goes behind the back, gets inside, triple teamed in there, and draws the foul. That is already the 14th foul on Washington, so if you're Indiana here...
She crashed the boards and ripped down an offensive rebound over a Washington defender, doing the dirty work that nobody else on this roster was willing to do in the third quarter. She hit a crossover dribble and launched a three from the top of the key, but it caught the front of the rim while Washington's lead ballooned to 10 points, and the Fever looked like a team that had given up on everyone except her.
Three, offensive rebound, Billings.
She grabbed the ball and pushed it in transition, driving all the way to the rim and drawing another foul because she was single-handedly trying to drag this team back from the dead. She stepped to the line and knocked down both free throws, and the stat line flashed 9 points, 3 rebounds, and 4 assists, but the score still showed Washington up by 8, and this team desperately needed more from everybody else. She used a pick and roll and attacked the basket, but her shot was blocked, and she hit the floor hard, and you could feel the weight of this game pressing down on her shoulders as the third quarter wound down.
Citron, Clark up and under, blocked by Iriafin.
She went back to the line and buried 2 more free throws, and the stat graphic showed a brutal 2 for 14 from the field, but every single point she had was keeping the Fever from getting completely buried. With 12 seconds left in the third, she pushed it in transition and drove to the basket, but Austin came out of nowhere and swatted it away. And the quarter ended with Washington up 12 and everybody wondering if this game was already over.
Clark running the floor, blocked by Austin.
The fourth quarter started, and she was the one grabbing the defensive rebound and pushing it up the floor herself, because if nobody else was going to fight for this game, then she would do it alone.
Leader in the second quarter, step through Enemis. Clark pulls down the rebound.
She came off a screen on the left wing and buried a three-pointer to cut the deficit, and that shot was the spark that lit the fire for the most incredible fourth quarter performance you will see all season.
Hand off Clark, off the screen, fire away, drops a three.
She came right back to the same spot on the left wing, stepped back to create space, and drained another three-pointer to make it a 5-point game.
Clark, bullseye!
And the building was shaking because they could feel the comeback starting. 2 threes in a row from the same wing, each one more defiant than the last. And the fist pump after the second one told you everything about the fire burning inside her in this fourth quarter. She stripped the ball from Citron in the post, pushed the fast break, and found her teammate for a bucket and a foul because Caitlin Clark was playing every position on the floor and doing it all by herself. She receives the pass on the wing and lets it fly from deep, draining the three, and her stat line climbs to 17 points and 4 assists as she wills this team back from the dead. She ran the pick and roll and found her teammate rolling to the basket for an easy 2, cutting the deficit to just 2 points, and now Washington was the team that looked rattled.
14 points here tonight. Clark off the screen. Inside Hines Allen for 2.
She used a screen and drove left, then stepped back on the left wing and buried a three-pointer that gave Indiana its first lead since the first quarter, and the bench and the crowd absolutely erupted because Caitlin Clark had just erased a 14-point deficit almost entirely by herself. The replay showed every bit of that step back. The way she created space out of nothing and let it fly with the kind of confidence that only comes from knowing you are the best player on the floor. She tried to push the lead with a crossover step-back 3 from the far right wing, but the shot missed and she tumbled to the floor, and Washington regained the lead because this game refused to let her breathe.
Clark, step back. Oh, foul. She took a tumble, didn't get the whistle.
She attacked in transition and drove straight to the rim against McMahon, finishing the basket to pull within one because every single point in this fourth quarter was coming through her and nobody else.
At the controls, Clark on the drive, and Clark lays it in.
Watch the replay and see her explode past the defender and finish at the rim with a scream, because this was a woman who was carrying an entire franchise on her back. She drove into the lane and hit her teammate with a no-look bounce pass for a bucket that gave Indiana the lead, and that pass had the entire arena on its feet because she was seeing things nobody else on the floor could see.
Oh, beautiful find! Mitchell finishes!
The replay showed the no-look bounce pass in all its glory, threading it through traffic without even looking, and her teammate finished with a smile because playing with Caitlin Clark means the ball finds you. She caught the handoff at the top of the key and buried another three-pointer, her 25th point of the night with 14 in this quarter alone, and the graphic on the screen confirmed what everybody watching already knew.
Allen on a handoff to Clark. Oh, yeah!
She launched a three from the left wing that missed, and then on the defensive end, the referee hit her with a foul on the perimeter that had her throwing her hands up in disbelief because the whistle was not on her side with 50 seconds left.
In dire straits, and Clark's going to be called for the foul here at about 42 feet.
Now this one.
Down 6 with under 30 seconds left, she pushed it in transition and handed the ball off to her teammate on the right wing, and the three-pointer went in to cut it to 3 and keep the impossible comeback alive.
Handoff, Mitchell hits a three!
The replay showed the poise and the precision on that handoff, creating a clean look for her teammate with the season on the line because she was orchestrating a miracle. And then, with 5.1 seconds left and the Fever down 3, she took the handoff on the left wing, and Caitlin Clark buried the three-pointer that tied this game at 89 and forced overtime.
Tynes Allen, handoff Clark for the tie. Yes! Caitlin Clark has tied the game with under 2 seconds left to play.
And she turned to the crowd and raised her arms because she just did the impossible. One more look at that release, the step back, the net barely moving, and a young fan in the stands losing their mind because they just watched greatness refuse to lose. Overtime started, and she came off a screen and fired a three from the top of the key, but it caught the front rim and wouldn't drop, and you could feel the universe conspiring against her.
Mitchell, back for Clark.
Caitlin Clark drove into the paint, collapsed the defense, and found her open teammate near the free throw line for the bucket that gave Indiana the lead in overtime.
Circles around, bounces for Mitchell, right up the middle, and Mitchell hits.
She pushed it in transition and drove straight to the rim for a made layup, her 31st and 32nd points of the night, still fighting, still clawing, still the only one who refused to stop.
Now Clark turns the corner, and Clark answers!
She caught the ball on the left wing, pump faked, drove past her defender, and finished with a left-handed reverse layup that cut it to 1 point because Caitlin Clark was giving this team absolutely everything she had. She used a screen and fired another three from the top of the key in overtime, but the shot missed and bodies hit the floor as the clock kept ticking against her.
Does Clark have any magic left? Billings and Iriafen hit the deck. Which way is this going?
She tried again from the right wing off a screen, but the three caught the front of the rim, and Washington grabbed the rebound, and time was running out on the greatest individual effort of the season. With 11 seconds left and the Fever down 4, she took the inbound, scanned the floor, and found her teammate on the left wing for a three-pointer that cut it to 1 with 5 seconds still on the clock. One last breath for a team that refused to die.
Here is Clark. Back for Hull, shot fakes, fires, and hits! It's a one-point game, the Fever will not go away.
She inbounded the ball one more time, pushed it ahead, and delivered a pass to Kelsey Mitchell at the top of the key with just over a second left, and the three-pointer for the win hit the front of the rim and bounced away.
Mitchell for the win! Oh, it's short, and Washington survived!
And just like that, everything she gave wasn't enough. Washington won 104-102 in overtime. And Caitlin Clark finished with 32 points on 7 3-pointers, 8 assists, 4 rebounds, 10 of 28 from the field. 17 of those points poured into a fourth quarter, where she single-handedly erased a collapse, and 4 more in overtime, where she willed a team back from the dead, a team that blew a 13-point lead, a team that had no business being in that game at the end without her, and she carried them to the very last second, only to walk off the floor with a loss she never deserved. See you on the next one.